Okay, sir. Good afternoon, all. I welcome today's last session expert, Dr. Venushree Khanke, madam, and I also welcome all participants in this one-week online faculty development program organized by PVPIT Gurgaon. We are here for last day, last session of FDP. Now, I would like to introduce today's expert, Dr. Venushree Khanke, madam. She has completed her BE in civil engineering. She has completed her PG in structural engineering from Pune University. She has completed her PhD in civil engineering under AICT NDF scheme from Walchand College, Sangli. She was full-time PhD research scholar at Walchand College from August 2018 to February 2023 as a junior research fellow for 2 years and senior research fellow for remaining years. Currently, she is working as assistant professor in civil engineering at Bharati Vidyapit College of Engineering Level, Pune. I would like to highlight that Venushree ma'am is an AICT certified innovation ambassador. She has published three Scopus Index journal papers and three Scopus Investor conference proceedings. She has filed one patent also. So today she will guide us on ethics in research topic. So I request Dr. Venushree ma'am, please start your session.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Is my presentation visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Uh, Good afternoon, one and all. Today I'm going to present on ethics in research. My name is Dr. Venushree Khanke. I have completed my PhD in civil engineering, ME in structural engineering, and currently I'm working as assistant professor in Bharati Vidyapit's College of Engineering, Lavai, Pune. So this is the outline of my presentation. Introduction, need for research ethics, historic case studies in research ethics, core principles of research ethics, ethical dilemmas in research, case studies, policy guidelines, and conclusion. So what is research? Research ethics refers to the principles and standards that guide researchers to conduct studies responsibly, ensuring the welfare of participants, the integrity of the research, and the credibility of the scientific community. Ethical considerations, it encompasses a range of ethical considerations including respect for individuals, informed consent, confidentiality, and the responsible use of data. Now, what is the need for ethics in research? Ethics in research ensures that future generations have accurate and reliable scientific knowledge to build upon. It maintains the integrity of the scientific record and prevents the perpetuation of false or misleading information. We can see it protects the participants, ensuring integrity and credibility. It promotes social responsibility, legal and regulatory compliance, advancing knowledge, and long term implications. Now, what are the core principles of research ethics? So, respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir. Yes, sir. Is it visible now? Not visible. Now, is it visible, sir?
No, no,
Yes,
no.
yes, visible and side
Visible,
slides are
but
also changing.
uh, presentation is not clear.
So, yeah, I have shared my screen.
Yes, 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 ma'am.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Hi. Now it now doesn't appear.
Now the slides are visible?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll just start from the beginning. Outline, introduction, need for research ethics, historic case studies in research ethics, core principles, ethical dilemmas in research, case study, policy guidelines, and conclusion. So, introduction to research ethics. Research ethics refers to the principles and standards that guide researchers to conduct studies responsibly, ensuring the welfare of participants, the integrity of research, and the credibility of the scientific community. Ethical considerations. It encompasses a range of ethical considerations, including respect for individuals, informed consent, confidentiality, and responsible use of data. We are going to see all of this in detail in the later slides. Now, what is the need for research? What is the need for ethics in research? Ethics in research ensures that future generations have accurate and reliable scientific knowledge to build upon. It maintains the integrity of scientific record and prevents perpetuation of false or misleading information. So, need for ethics in research is for protecting participants, ensuring integrity and credibility, promoting social responsibility, legal and regulatory compliance, advancing knowledge, and long term implications. Now, there are three core principles of research ethics: respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. We'll just see each one of them in detail. Respect for persons, the autonomy and dignity of individuals, informed consent from participants, and special protection of vulnerable populations. All this we can see in depth in the next case study in the coming slide. Beneficence, obligation to minimize harm and maximize benefits, and prioritizing the well being of participants. Then, justice. Justice means the fair distribution of the benefits and burdens of research. It promotes equity and prevents exploitation. It ensures that no group is unfairly burdened or excluded from the potential benefits of research. Now, all the three core principles are very well explained in the historic case studies in research ethics. We all know the famous Bhopal gas tragedy that occurred in 1984. So, context of that Bhopal gas tragedy was a gas leak at the Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal. It led to thousands of deaths and long-term health consequences for the local population. The impact of the tragedy was, while primarily an industrial disaster, but the aftermath included unethical research on the victims without proper consent. This tragedy emphasized the need for stricter regulations and ethical standards in clinical research and public health interventions. Similarly, HIV vaccine trials. What happens is in vaccine trials also. Usually, these vaccine trials are carried out on in carried out. Uh, Usually, these vaccine trials are carried out on the victims or on the population uh, which are underprivileged. So this also highlights the need of ethics in research. We'll see in detail in the next case study. Now I want to focus on ethical dilemmas in research. It is a very important topic, like what kind of dilemmas we can find in research. So first one is informed consent. It is very important that the participants must be fully aware about the consent, or they should have written consent about the participation. So dilemma about in this is participants do not fully understand the research study, the risk involved in it, or their rights, which leads to the inadequate informed consent. So how can we address this informed consent is by clear communication, documentation, and ongoing consent. So what do we mean by clear communication? In clear communication, we can provide them information in simple, understandable language. In documentation, we can use written consent forms which are duly signed by the participants. Then in ongoing consent, we can continually inform participants of any changes in the study which may affect them. Now, second is confidentiality and privacy. This is also one of the important dilemma in ethical research. So the dilemma here is ensuring the privacy of the participants and confidentiality of their data can be challenging, especially when it is sensitive information. So how can we address this dilemma? It is by data protection, anonymization, and access control. So, what do you mean by data protection? It is using encryption and secure storage methods for data, anonymization, remove identifying information from data sets. Sometimes we use even anonymization in the paper that we publish. Okay. Access control, limit data access control. In access control, we can limit data access to the authorized persons only. Then third dilemma is conflict of interest. This is also one of the most important dilemmas. Here, the basic dilemma is about researchers may face situations where personal or financial interests could influence their objectivity. So we can address this conflict of interest by disclosure, independent review, and separation of roles. So disclosure, it is transparently disclose any potential conflicts of interest. So as in case of research publication, we also make some disclosures. Likewise, this is also important dilemma. Independent review, use independent reviewers or ethic committees to assess the research. uh, Separation of roles, separate financial interests from research responsibilities. Then the next dilemma is authorship and credit. Here the dilemma is deciding who deserves authorship and in what order can it be contentious, leading to disputes and feeling of unfairness. These days you can see there are many papers in which more than 8 to 10 authors are included. So in that case, this is the main dilemma, like who will be the corresponding author and what will be their roles. So how to address this particular dilemma, authorship and credit, is by clear criteria. Like we have to establish clear guidelines for authorship. It is purely based on contribution. Like corresponding author is always responsible for all the correspondence that he get in the mail when the paper is submitted. Then second is open communication. So there should be proper discussion of the authorship roles, and it should be revisited as the project progresses. As in case if there are two authors, one is the corresponding author and other is the guide. So there should be proper open communication between the two so that they can have their research going on in a smooth manner. Then next is documentation. So we have to keep a detailed record of each contributor's involvement, because we can see in case of paper publication, they will ask you what is the author contribution. So you should have detailed record or documentation for the same. Then the most important dilemma in research is plagiarism. This is of very important topic for all of engineers or researchers, because plagiarism has now come into picture where it is mandatory to have like less than 10% plagiarism for paper publication and also for thesis submission in case of PhD. So plagiarism, in this the dilemma is researchers might be tempted to use others' work without proper attribution, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So how we can address this plagiarism issue is by proper citation. So what is to be done is we have to always cite the resources and give the credit where it is due. Even though we take an image from the Google or we take any diagram from any paper, we have to cite the sources properly and give its due credit. Then how can this plagiarism be detected? This can be detected by using softwares for detection of plagiarism. Example is Turnitin or iAuthenticate. Then how to reduce this plagiarism? Now the major question arises for us is, if we have plagiarism, how to reduce it? So there are some education tools or for referencing styles. So this ensures researchers can be trained on the importance of academic integrity and proper citation practices. So there are tools like Mendeley software, EndNote, etc., which can help us to properly cite the material that we have taken from other paper or any image or any data. So this helps in reducing the plagiarism. Now we will see a case study. This case study I have taken from medical background. This is taken purposely so that we can understand all these dilemmas and ethical principles in detail. We'll be taking one more case study wherein I will highlight about the publication ethics. So here I have taken case study on HPV vaccine trials in India, which were conducted in 2009-10. So this HPV virus vaccine, it was conducted. This trial was conducted in India by the international non-profit organization PATH in collaboration with the Indian Council of Medical Research and state governments. So the trials that were aimed to test the efficacy and safety of the HPC vaccine, which was used in preventing cervical cancer among young girls, and it targeted the tribal populations in Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. So we'll see what were the key ethical issues that were involved with this particular case study. So first was informed consent. So what was the issue in it? Reports indicated that many participants and their guardians, they were not fully aware about the nature of the trials, the potential risk, or the fact that they had the right to refuse the participation. The consent forms that were used were in English, which many participants could not read. So, in this informed consent, what happened was informed consent is the cornerstone of ethical research, actually, which ensures the participants voluntarily agree to partake with a full understanding of risk and benefits. In this case, the lack of proper communication and understanding undermined the validity of the consent obtained, raising concerns about exploitation. So, this was the major ethical issue in that HPV vaccine trial. Now, second issue was vulnerability of populations. So, the trials targeted were young girls from tribal communities who are often marginalized and less likely to be fully aware of their rights. We all know this tribal community, young girls are not so aware of their rights. So, actually, ethically, it should have been research involving vulnerable populations requires extra caution to avoid exploitation. The participants' socio-economic status and limited education made them particularly susceptible to being misled and unduly influenced. So, ethical research must ensure additional protections and clear and cultural appropriate communication. So, this is also one of the important ethical issue that was faced during this HP vaccine trial. It was vulnerability of population. Those were young girls from tribal communities. Now, the third issue was monitoring and follow-up. So, the reports were of inadequate follow-up with participants to monitor for adverse effects after the vaccination was observed. So, now ongoing monitoring is very crucial in clinical trials to ensure the safety of participants and address any adverse events promptly. The failure to provide adequate follow-up care not only put participants at risk but also violates ethical guidelines for responsible conduct of research. So, monitoring and follow up is also one of the key ethical issues, as we can see here. Now, the fourth issue is transparency and accountability. The public and participants were inadequately informed about the funding sources, the role of international agencies, and the specific objective of the trials. There was no transparency and accountability seen as they were young girls from tribal communities. So transparency is also essential to maintain public trust and ensure accountability in the research. Researchers must disclose all the relevant information to the participants and the public, including funding sources, potential conflict of interest, and so on. In this case, lack of transparency contributed to suspicious, unethical practices and exploitation. And the last ethical issue that was observed was regulatory oversight. The trials highlighted gaps in the regulatory framework and oversight mechanisms for clinical trials in India at that time. So there should be strong regulatory oversight or mechanisms for clinical trials in India. The HPV vaccine trials exposed weakness in the existing system, prompting calls for stricter regulations and better enforcement to assure ethical conduct in the future research. So, as a result, there was some outcome of this uh, study or the trial that was conducted. It led to suspension of the trials and a government investigation which confirmed ethical violations. The incident sparked widespread debate and led to significant reforms in India's clinical trial regulations, which includes the establishment of new guidelines to ensure ethical conduct, informed consent, and protection of vulnerable populations. So, what was the conclusion is the HPV vaccine trials in India, they serve as a critical case in research ethics, underscoring the importance of informed consent, protection of vulnerable populations, continuous monitoring, transparency, and robust regulatory oversight. These ethical principles are vital to safeguard the rights and well being of the research participants and maintaining the integrity of scientific research. I hope you understand what are the dilemmas that are faced by these trials in the case study. Now, the second case study that I highlighted, this is I think of more important to our engineering fraternity. The first case study that I discussed, it was basically for the understanding of various dilemmas in ethical in research ethics. Okay, so now this case study I wanted to highlight about the journal paper publication. So in this particular slide, you can see this paper is being retracted. Okay. So what do we mean by that, and what are the causes of this retraction of the paper? We'll see. So basic reasons for the retraction of the paper are errors in data analysis, misconduct, ethical issues, authorship disputes, or duplication. So in errors in data errors in data analysis, this can be discovered in the data or analysis that invalidate the study findings. So it can happen that whatever data is presented or analysis presented, that may not validate with the findings or the results. Then second can be misconduct. In misconduct, there can be issues like plagiarism, there can be data fabrication or falsification. Then third is ethical issues. There can be breach of ethical standards in the research process, like maybe in the experimentation part or something like that. Authorship disputes. So unresolved disputes among the authors that may also affect the integrity of the paper. Duplication. Duplication here it means if the paper is found to have been published elsewhere previously without proper citation. It can be simply said like that if you have submitted the paper in two journals at the same time, that can also be a example for duplication. So these were the various reasons why that paper got retracted. So what is the process that is followed while it is when it is retracted? So first there is investigation. In investigation, it is conducted by the journal publishing team, often involving the authors, peer reviewers, and sometimes independent experts as well. Then decision. Based on this investigation, a decision is made on whether to retract the paper. Then, once the decision is made, there is notification. The authors and relevant stakeholders are notified of the decision. Then there is a retraction notice. A retraction notice is published explaining the reasons for the retraction and then maintaining the academic record. Now we can see the policy guidelines for all of this. Like we have author identified errors, author correction, article withdrawn, author identified errors, article correction, article withdrawn, article retraction, article removal, and article replacement. So these policy guidelines are given by famous publication that is elsewhere. So is it visible, the policy document?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, is it visible?
Yes.
So I just wanted to highlight this in detail because as we are studying in detail the ethics in research, what happens generally is we always when we go for paper publication, we just tick the consent form or whatever regulations or these are given. We just tick it, but we never read what is the policy document, right? So I just want to highlight here what is this policy document. So this is basically for the importance of integrity and completeness of the scholarly record to the scientific community, and it attaches the highest importance in maintaining trust in the authority of the published articles. So now there are this policy of elsewhere. It is reviewed and updated as standard practices that is evolved. So there are various points that we will see in it. Authors who discover an error in their published article. Now this is the exact policy document that have taken from the elsewhere. So here they have highlighted that if the author who can discover an error in the published article, they may contact the journal as soon as it is possible. In most cases, the corresponding author will be responsible for sharing the details of the error with the journal. So here is the main important role of the corresponding author that we discussed in the previous slides, that authorship role is important in research ethics. Why it is important? We can see here, because the corresponding author will be responsible for sharing all the details for the publication. Like in this case also we can see it is the duty of the corresponding author to share the details of the error if there is any with the journal. Now second is article correction. So in the article correction, a corrigendum will be published where it is required to correct an error or omission. Like when you have notified the error with the publisher, there will be article correction. So this may be also contacted, or this may be also in correspondence with the corresponding authors. But the corrigendum should be drafted by the authors, and all the authors must agree to the publication. So here also there is an important role of authorship, that all the authors must be properly informed about that correction, and they all must agree to it. Next is expressions of concern. Now there can be inconclusive evidence of research or publication misconduct which have not been resolved by investigation. There can be investigation into alleged misconduct related to publication, either that has not been or would not be fair or impartial or conclusive. Investigation is underway, but a judgment will not be available for considerable time. So what this means is, sometimes there may be some research which is reported which may not be so fair, or it may be something of social harm. So this can be also raised as a concern, expression for concern. So this expression of concern, it may be a temporary one or primary one or permanent one. So in case of temporary one, it will be just replaced with a further notice. Then in case of permanent expression of concern, there can be retraction or removal. Means if they find that your research is not fair, or they find it is some impartial. So there can be two types of concerns that can be temporary or permanent. In temporary, we can replace it by our corrections and all. But if they find that no, this concern is permanent, so there can be various steps. They can either remove that article or they can retract that article. So we'll see in depth what is retraction or removal or withdrawal. So now article withdrawal. What do you mean by article withdrawal? So articles in press. Articles in press means before when your article is accepted for publication, but it is not available online. So before it is in article is in press. So which represent early version of your article that has been accepted for publication, but it is not yet published in the final form. So this article can be withdrawn. You can withdraw this article. So now when this article can be withdrawn, if they found there are errors, if they are found to contain errors, they are discovered to be an accidental duplicate of another published article. So if it is found to be a duplicate of another article, so it can be withdrawn. Then they may have breached elsewhere journal publication policies. Like breaching of publication policies is also ethical research ethics part. Okay, they represent an early version of the article that was published due to an editorial or production error, or it may be also withdrawn because of their side also, like because of the editorial or production error. That can also be a article withdrawal case. Now, this is the major focus, that is article retraction. As we have seen in our case study, that particular journal paper was retracted. So we have seen the probable reasons for the retraction and what are the steps that are taken for the retraction. So we'll see in depth why the article gets retracted, because nowadays this is more frequently happening, where there are a lot of authors, and this article retraction cases have gone up. So, the retraction of the article by its author or the journal editor under the advice of the members of the scholarly community has long been an occasional feature of the learned world. So, like these days, this is an occasional feature. So, articles may be retracted to correct errors that impact the findings reported by an article where they are too extensive in the view of the editors to publish a correction, or due to infringements of elsewhere's journal policies, such as multiple submissions. So I have discussed this in the earlier slide, that particular paper, it may have been retracted because of multiple submissions. Means like the paper is being submitted to more than one journal at the same time. Then bogus claims of authorship. Now, what is this bogus claims of authorship? This is if we have four authors in the paper, and actually only the corresponding author is the one who is responsible for the entire research. The other authors are only just for the namesake. So this can be a bogus claim of authorship. Like if there is, let's say example, if there is a research paper which is being published by four authors, and the first one is the corresponding author, and he is the one who is writing the journal paper, and all the and he's related with all the research experiments and all, and some of his friends, he might be interested in publishing with him, so he asked him for just putting his name in the paper. So that can be a bogus claim of authorship, because he might not have any knowledge about that particular research topic, but still he is claiming to be an author. So like in case if it is a civil engineering paper, or if it is a engineering paper, and someone from the medical background is claiming for the authorship, so this will be a bogus claim of authorship, right? Then second is plagiarism. Like I have already highlighted during the plagiarism slide, that it is a major issue nowadays for plagiarism. For any type of publication or any type of submission, these days the plagiarism is reduced to less than 10%. So what is plagiarism basically? It is directly copying some data from other paper, or directly copying some images from the other paper, or any other book, or any other site, like say Google. So this is plagiarism. So if they found plagiarism also greater than the prescribed limit, the article may be retracted. The next is fraudulent use of data or the like. So fraudulent use of the data here, it can be like suppose they have misused the data for some other for their information. Like there is no proper relation between the data what they are using and the results or the findings they have derived from that data analysis. So in this case, the journal editors or designated representatives, such as members of journal's ethics committee, in consultation with elsewhere's research integrity and publishing ethics center of expertise, will consider retracting an article. So if they found all these things like multiple submission, bogus claims of authorship, plagiarism, fraudulent use of data, or the like, so they can consider retracting of the article, where they have clear evidence that the findings are unreliable, either as a result of major error, that is miscalculation or experimental error, or a result of fabrication of data, or falsification, that is image manipulation. Article can also be retracted if it constitutes plagiarism, or the findings have been previously published elsewhere and the authors have failed to provide proper attribution to the previous sources or disclosure to the editor, permission to republish, or justification. Here is the citation part. Suppose some data has been published elsewhere in the other paper, and the authors have not properly provided attribution, like they have not properly cited the sources from where the data is taken. So in that case also the paper may get retracted. So, or it contains the material or data that the authors were not authorized to publish. In case of medical research or something like that, they are not allowed to publish all the data. So in that case also, if they are not authorized to publish the data and if it is found in the paper, then that article may be retracted. Copyright has been infringed, and there is also some serious legal issue like breach of privacy, label, etc. Then it reports unethical research or breaches elsewhere's publishing ethical policies regarding the conduct of research involving human participants or animals. Now here comes this vaccine trial example, where we have seen that they have targeted the tribal population, and that to young girls. So this is unethical research. Like they have targeted the vaccine trials on underprivileged sections. So this involves human participations, and on the top of that, they were not aware about the consequences, or they were not properly informed about the trials. That proper information was not provided to them. So there is evidence of compromised peer review or systematic manipulation of the editorial process. Or this article can also be retracted when they can sense that there is some manipulation in the editorial process, like in the review process or any editorial process. Then there is evidence or material concerns of authorship being sold. Like I said in the example, if there is a journal paper having four authors, and out of which one of them is only the corresponding author or the main author, and the rest four authors are just being uh, asked to be paid, or it can be said that authorship is being sold in that case. So there can be retraction of the paper in case of evidence of citation manipulation. This is also again a part of this plagiarism. So when we cite any sources that from where we have taken the resources, and if there is any manipulation in that citation, so that can also lead to the retraction of the article. Then the authors fail to disclose a major competing interest, a conflict of interest that, in the view of the editor, would have materially affected the interpretations of the work or recommendations by the editors or peer reviewers. So, what do we mean by that? I have discussed in the previous slide that we have to disclose any conflict of interest if it is there. So what happens is, if it is not being disclosed, so there can be some interpretations of the work or recommendations that can be affected because of this non-disclosure of the conflict of interest. The article can be retracted if there is evidence of any breach of the journal's publishing policies, and editor has therefore lost confidence in the validity or integrity of the article. So this can also be the case where the paper or the article can be retracted. So standards for retracting articles have been developed by a number of library and scholarly bodies. So this and the following best practice that is used by elsewhere. So what they do is they send a retraction notice, title retraction, and the article title, which is signed by the editor and by the authors, and if appropriate by the authors, is published in a consequent issue of the journal, is paginated, and it is listed in the table of contents. So what they do is, suppose if they want to retract any article, they issue a notice in the subsequent issue of that journal, and it is listed in the table of contents. In the electronic version, a link is made between the retraction notice and the original article. The online article is preceded by a screen containing the retraction notice. It is to this screen that the link revolves. The reader can then proceed to the article itself. So in case of online articles, what they usually do is they keep the article, but before that they just precede that article with the screen which is having that retraction notice. The original article is retained unchanged except for a watermark on the PDF indicating on each page that it is retracted. So we can see this sometimes if in case if we go for author search in Scopus or something, and we can find some articles which are retracted. So there they always show a watermark that it is retracted on every page of the article that is retracted. Okay, and the HTML version of the article is removed. Now, this was all about the article retraction that I wanted to focus on, which I have included in the case study. because this is the like current issue that is being seen or being highlighted. Next part is article removal. So now when the article is removed, so after the retraction, in retraction at least they send a notice that there are some compliances. If you can if you can fulfill that compliances, that article may be again re-accepted for publication. But when it is seen that article is it cannot be retracted, or it is defamatory, or it infringes other legal rights, then that article is removed. So in extremely limited number of cases, it may be necessary to remove an article from the online archive of the journal where it was published. Given the importance of maintaining the scholarly record as a permanent and as far as possible unaltered record of the transactions of scholarship, removal of an article is rare, and it will only occur when it is determined that the article is defamatory or infringes other legal rights, and retraction is not a sufficient remedy. So only when retraction is not possible, that case they go for article removal. The article is or elsewhere has a good reason to expect it will be the subject of court order. The article, if acted upon, might pose a serious health risk. So, this article removal, in case of medical research, if it is of some serious health risk, so they can remove that particular article. So, in the now the next and last important topic is article replacement. In cases where the article, if acted upon, might pose a serious health risk, the authors of the original article may wish to retract the original and replace it with the corrected version. So, what we have seen in the previous point, that if the article is posing a serious health risk, they may remove it. But if the authors wish that they can correct it with the proper version, so they can retract that original article without replacing, without removing. So what that publishers can do, they can keep that article, but it need to be replaced with the correct version. In these circumstances, the procedures for retraction will be followed, with the difference that the database retraction notice will publish a link to the corrected republished article and the history of the document. So in this case, what happens is there will be a retraction notice, and there will be a link to which this corrected republished article we can find, and there will be a history of the document. So this was about the elsewhere policies related to research ethics. I just wanted to highlight all these policies because we generally don't read all these policies while publication, while submission and all. We just I agree. We just tick on the I agree and we proceed. So coming back to the presentation, is it visible? Is it visible, ma'am?
Fine.
So now, so this was all about the research ethics and all. So I wanted to now share with you my research publication, and I wanted to just give a case study like how I followed research ethics. Okay. So I have performed analysis of even and uneven functionally graded sandwich plates with geometric distortions under hygrothermal mechanical loading during my research work. Just a minute, I will just share that. So is it visible? Is my paper visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes.
this is my original contribution in Journal of Institution of Engineers India, Series A. So here I've published my article on analysis of even and uneven functionally graded sandwich plates with geometric distortions under hygrothermal mechanical loading. So this was my topic of research during my PhD at Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli. So here I wanted to highlight about the research ethics that I followed. So this will be like a live study for you, and you can understand it in depth. So first and the most important thing is the role of authors and affiliations of the authors. So as you can see in the paper, I have submitted this article along with my guide. So I have just put here two authors name only. One is my name and the second is my guide's name, because I was basically involved in the research work, and my guide used to guide me for that. So no other authors have been added, so there was no paid authorship or like that. Then you can see in the later part that all the corresponding details of the authors are mentioned properly. So this should also be a proper information. Like, you should not give any vague data or false information here. The corresponding author's mail should be the mail which is like permanent mail sort of. No, like right now I'm working at Bharati Vidyapit, but before I used to be a research scholar in Walchand Sangli. So I could have given a mail ID for Walchand Sangli, but that is not so ethical, because if I once I pass out from that institute, that mail ID may not work for me. So I have provided a Gmail mail ID here, so that any correspondences or any queries arises, the concerned person can contact the corresponding author on that mail ID. So this is the first important thing, that you should have the authors who have really contributed to your research. Not no other authors, like for these days, like we can see there are many papers wherein we can see 4 to 5 authors, and I think they may not be related with that topic, or they may not be related with that area. So like, this is also unethical in research. So this is the one major thing that I wanted to highlight. Then the second thing is, so this is my paper, it is available online. Then the second thing is, I said about the disclosure. Yeah, declaration or disclosure. So we should always disclose if there is any conflict of interest. So like here I have disclosed, the authors declare no potential conflict of interest in any form. So there can be potential conflict of interest in financial way, or there can be some potential conflict of interest in the data that you are presenting. So that should be clearly declared in the paper. So that is also ethical practice to declare that. Then the next thing I wanted to highlight was author's contribution. Now see, this is again an important ethical research ethical point, that you have to highlight the contribution of the authors. Now here I have highlighted that all the authors have contributed to the study, conception and design, material preparation, formal analysis and investigation, writing original draft, preparation, were contributed by VSK, because this all work was done by corresponding author. So I have highlighted that. Writing, review and editing and supervision were contributed by my guide. So this is clearly mentioned about the roles of the each author. Like, we are two authors here, so both of them have both of the roles have been mentioned clearly. If in case, here we can do one thing. Now this was my research publication, so I could not add any of the author. But if it is not a research, or if it had it not been my PhD work, if it had been a journal paper, and if I have to include any other authors, so here there can be something that is interesting, that author's contribution. Even if some of my friend, if he helps me in reviewing my paper or editing, so even I can add that author's contribution here, and I can add his name. That can be possible only in case of research where you are supposed to present it for your PhD. So there, this is the mandatory thing, that there should not be more authors. It should be compulsorily corresponding author and the guide. But in case of general research publication, if you want, like for faculty, I'm discussing about this. Suppose if it is mandatory in some institutes that there should be research publication by faculty every semester, at least 2 publications by the end of the year. So in that case, what happens is, mostly in the department or inter-department, there can be lot of faculties who ask for, like, if there is one paper written, so 4 to 5 people will say that please write my name, please write my name. This is actually unethical. But how we can make it ethical is, if this can be done, if some part of the work is done by one author and some part is done by other author, if someone have at least reviewed that paper or someone have contributed in editing the paper, or someone have contributed in plagiarism removal. So then it becomes ethical, and you can write the contribution of the author, and you can add their names, or you can give them the authorship. That is the part. Then next is acknowledgement. So this is also an important thing that should be acknowledged in the research ethics, that whatever funding or whatever support you are getting from any organization or any agency, that you should clearly give acknowledgement. So here the author would like to express gratitude to NDF AICT Government of India and Director Walchand College of Engineering Sangli Maharashtra for offering financial support as PhD stipend. So I have mentioned the acknowledgement to both NDF scheme, that was Government of India scheme, and Director at Walchand College of Engineering Sangli, as we used to get financial support for PhD, like stipend for PhD. So that also has been acknowledged. Now, one more thing is to be declared, that is funding. So if some of the projects, they are funded by Department of Science and Technology, or maybe funded by any other local agency, if it is the case, then the author would like to express gratitude to them, and acknowledge their contribution to the research project. Ma'am, am I audible now?
Madam, yes, madam.
Sorry for disconnecting. There was some error, I think. It got disconnected.
No issue.
So where were we? I think I was discussing about the ethical practices that was followed in my research publication. So I think, ma'am, can you please help me? Where could I tell you at the where was I at the last?
Ma'am, you have shared the paper and tell us that what are the ethical rules for the presenting of paper means scientific project.
Ma'am,
Madam,
you're
if
not audible.
in if you want to include the faculty member, for example,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
in a normal
Just a
paper.
minute, sir. What I will do, I think, did I complete my?
Ma'am,
Was I
you
able to complete? Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. That I will highlight. Yeah, sir, I will highlight. I will highlight on that. Just a minute. I just. I'll just complete. I am about to complete my presentation. Then I'm open for the questions. Okay, sir. So So here, I think, did I cover acknowledgement and funding?
No, madam.
No,
So
madam.
I'll do one thing. I'll just cover this whatever is from my end. Then I'm open for questions. So in author contribution, like we can see, we were only two authors. So the roles of the authors are clearly defined here, and it is mentioned here. In case of acknowledgement, now what happens is, if you are being supported by uh, any agency or any institution, that has to be acknowledged in the paper. This is the ethical practice. So like, the author would like to express a gratitude to AICT NDF scheme, Government of India, and Director, Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli, Maharashtra, for offering financial support as PhD stipend. So during my research study, I was being offered stipend from the AICT NDF scheme, which was monitored by Walchand College of Engineering. So I have acknowledged that here. So this is the ethical practice. Like, you have to acknowledge any kind of support if you are getting from any agency or institution. It should be acknowledged in the paper. Then the important part is funding. There are some papers which are funded by, there are some research projects which are funded by uh, various agencies, like Department of Science and Technology, or any other local agencies. So if such funding is being obtained for the research study, so that has to be mentioned here. Like in my case, there was no funding received, so I have declared that there was no funding received. This is the ethical practice we need to follow. So as you can see in the publication, the major ethical considerations, or the major ethical practices that I followed was clear defining of the authorship, then the roles of the authorship or their contribution, then the acknowledgements, funding disclosure, or the disclosure of conflict of interest. Now coming back to the author role that I wanted to discuss. See, now in my case, this was my research work for my PhD. So ideally seeking, there should be only the researcher who is working on that and the guide. So there were two authors and their roles. But if in case for faculties, I wanted to discuss here that if you want to publish a paper, because it has been mandatory in many of the institutes that every faculty should publish a paper every semester, and two papers by the year. This is the minimum requirement, I think. So in that case, what happens is, inter-department or intra-department people or your colleagues may ask you for authorships. Like, so in that case, what can happen is, actually it is unethical to give authorship to many people for one work. But how it can be made ethical is, if we can divide that work, or there are various roles in paper writing, like writing of the paper, reviewing of the paper, editing of the paper, removing plagiarism, and then submitting it to the journal. So if all of these steps or all of these parts has been taken care of by each of the author, so it can be included in the author list, and also it can be clearly mentioned in the author contribution. So that becomes ethical. Like, sometimes we can see that there are lots of authors in a paper. Some of them may not have that background, or some of them may not be from that field, but still it is only for the namesake we are giving. So that is unethical. So, but it can be made ethical in this way: if you are contributing to the that particular research, or contributing to that particular work, then it can be included. Then the conclusion: ethical principles in research, they are vital, as they safeguard the rights and well-being of research participants, and they maintain the integrity of scientific research. So these are very important. Actually, ethical principles are very important because they safeguard the rights and well-beings, and also it maintains the integrity. If there were no ethics, it would have been random. Anyone would have published any data which had no base, and it cannot be then trusted upon. So ethics has to be followed. So keep ethics, and thank you. So there is one small message from me, that we should not keep ethics only in research, but we should be ethically in life also, because this ethics play a very important role in life. Without ethics, I think there will be no fair life also. So And one more point I want to highlight here is now we have seen what are the research ethics. I just wanted to highlight was how we can protect this research ethics. So this research ethics can be protected by IPR, intellectual property right. Suppose if I have a research article, I wanted to preserve its like uniqueness or something like that. I can patent that particular idea. I can copyright of uh, any research project that I have made, or I can go for any other type of IPR activities. So this can be protected. Research ethics can also be protected by using IPR. We have that tool now, so we can go for patent filing, patent publishing. We can go for copyright and all. So now I am open for questions. I thought this could be an interactive session because research in ethics actually it is a vast topic. I've tried to summarize it. I hope you have got it. If there are any if questions or any doubts, so I'm open.
Is there any question from audience? Please ask.
I think some of them were asking about the authorship something. Can you please come again?
Is there any question?
Yes, any question? Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Okay. Copyright you can't claim that time because copyright is not for the article. So like what you can do, uh, you can we have seen the elsewhere policies, so you can contact that publisher. Like suppose that paper is published in elsewhere journal, so you can contact them with your paper which was published earlier, and you can follow a procedure to claim that it was your work and it is being published now. That can be done. Sir, actually, there are guidelines for each and every publication. Like if you go for any paper publication, you can see the policy guidelines. There are clearly mentioned in the particular with the particular publisher. I have highlighted for elsewhere because they are like standard journals. So elsewhere journals. So that's why I've highlighted there. Hmm. Yeah. Registered copyright. But sir, the thing like when we publish a paper, we need not take copyright for each and every paper. Okay, okay, okay. But actually, sir, how can they claim for this all copyright? Yeah, because actually copyright is only for like drama, music, artistic work, or something like that. So and every paper we can't copyright, right? Because they have some regulations for copyright as well. So I don't know which publication or publisher or something. Can you just elaborate so that I can have that case study now? IJMIT. Okay. So it was under UGC. UGC care. Okay. 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 So I'll just look out for that. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, sir, for adding this. Any more questions or anything that you want me to explain or highlight again?
I
Actually, ethics is such a thing that it has to be followed in not only in research but in all fields of our life. We can say there should be organization ethics, work ethics, and all.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It is not related to research. No,
Okay.
it is. It is. I'm asking you from the point of view of research, but
Yeah.
it's a very general question,
Yeah.
and maybe it is a personal question. You are free not to answer it. I would like to know. You talked about ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that happens is we face that in real life, we face that in our work life. In fact,
Yes.
I have faced a few also pressures of various kinds and what is to be done. Now, has there been any ethical dilemma, either personal or professional, while you were doing your research? And can you elaborate on that? It can be a dilemma about whether or not you should perform a particular experiment. It can be a dilemma about political pressures. It can be anything. Just elaborate, because that will help me get a case study.
Okay. Sir, actually, ethical dilemmas are the thing that we face because there
Yes.
are various types of dilemmas like authorship roles. We can say informed consent is there. Then,
Hmm.
where there are various ethical this dilemmas. So one I faced was authorship only, because the thing is, suppose I just mentioned earlier, this was my research work. It was related to PhD work. So it was like it should not be it should not have contain more authors, but there can be something we can take help from some colleagues or something, and we may add their name. But ethically it is like that for PhD research, I think it is mandatory like that, that only the researcher and the guide is to be included. But then here I feel sometimes that we can add other authors also if they have contributed in some or the other sense. And sometimes it is that we need other contributions as well, maybe for some editing part or some any other part. So that could have been included. And one more dilemma that I faced was about plagiarism. So
Hmm.
this that's why I highlighted about that, that plagiarism, because I took admission in 2018. So before 2018, I think the plagiarism rules were not as strict that got during our time. So we were admitted to Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli, under AICT NDF scheme, but it was affiliated to Shivaji University, Kolhapur. So
Yes.
before 2018, it was plagiarism less than 15 or 20% was acceptable for thesis submission. It was some case like that. But after 2018, they have asked us to go for plagiarism less than 10%. And practically speaking, it is very
Just a minute,
difficult.
may I stop you? When you talk about a percentage of amount of plagiarism, how exactly is that measured? I mean, because is it depending on the length of your work, or what exactly is this
No, sir.
percentage?
I will explain plagiarism in detail. So, sir, plagiarism now that is basically detected by using software, Turnitin software
Yes,
or
yes, yes.
Identicate software. So, how they detect is like they just find out the similar matches, like whatever data you have copied from other
Okay,
papers,
okay,
or
okay.
whatever
I
information or
got it.
table, anything that they find common. So they put it as plagiarism. Even the word research, that can also be considered as plagiarism in that software, because that is a
Yes.
common word. Now there is one catch, that in that plagiarism detection software, there are some settings that we need to apply. Now, if the word research can also be considered as plagiarism if that setting is not made. So, during our
Uh,
case, we were allowed only 10 less than 10% plagiarism for thesis submission as well as for paper submission. So, but in that case, they have allowed for there is one setting in the software detection that there should be small matches that can be excluded from plagiarism. So that small matches, usually it is allowed up to 8 words. So whatever small matches up to 8 words, that can be considered as they can be removed from the plagiarism software. So for our case, what they have considered, what they have given us the point, that if your plagiarism is less than 10% and matches, the small matches up to 14 words were allowed. So like it was within the practical limit. But had it not been the case, it would have been very difficult to go for plagiarism less than 10%, because the thing is, very small words or very common words like research or say introduction or methodology or results, discussion. Sometimes these words also is being shown by plagiarism software, because some or the other person have used that, or
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
common
This,
formulae or like that.
this explanation which you gave me was very useful for me, because I have not used any of these things.
Okay.
And in fact, I am from industry. I've started teaching now, you
Okay.
see, and that is how it is.
Okay.
So what actually happened is, whenever I've been teaching about this and talking about Turnitin and all that kind of thing, one big doubt was always in my mind, and you have confirmed it. I
Okay.
was saying, how can this kind of a thing be detected electronically, because it is going to go by only this counting the words and similarities. And you gave me a very good example by saying even the word research will be treated as a copycat.
Yeah, sir.
Well,
Because the thing is, yeah, sir. Here the
and
thing is,
that is why I asked that question. How is it detected, and how can you quantify it as 5% or 10% or 100%? How can you quantify it? Because this is something that is a very human thing. It's something that the brain should do. How can it be done? But you have answered this very nicely. That
yeah,
this, but there should probably be, over and above this check electronically, there should be some kind of a review of that manually, what all have been identified as copied, and are they valid to be called copied? I don't know, this is just a feeling. Thank you very
sir.
much.
The
Thanks.
thing is, I just want to add here. The thing
Yeah.
is, I have highlighted in my plagiarism slide that
Hmm.
we can use the software for detection of plagiarism,
Hmm.
and but how we can avoid this plagiarism is by proper citation. So if we
Okay.
cite that sources properly and give the due credit to it, like suppose some certain like I want to copy a certain formula from some of the author, but I say
Uh-huh.
that this formula I copied, but it belongs to that author, because I need, suppose in my research work, I have also developed a formula, but I need to prove that my formula is better than the other formula, right? So
Yeah.
in that case, what I can do is I can copy that formula as it is. I can cite and I can give due credit to that particular author, and then I can give my own formula, and then I can give the comparison of the two studies, like the
Okay.
study carried out by that particular author using that for his formula, and the study that I carried out using my formula. So that can be done. So but in this case, this can be also plagiarism only, but I have given citation for that, and I have given due credit for that. So
Okay.
that is
Yes.
not considered as plagiarism then in the
Once
software.
the citation comes, it is not
Yeah,
plagiarism.
yeah. So
I
that is
agree. Yeah, yeah,
one
I know.
thing to avoid plagiarism, because it is that we cannot avoid plagiarism. That is very true and very real fact, that plagiarism cannot be avoided, because sometimes we need to take some formulas or anything from the available sources. But only thing here is we can use them, but with the proper citation and due credit. and uh,
Okay.
and sir, also for that I want to add, I have mentioned this, that there are some softwares which help us to add the
Yes.
citations. So yeah, so
Oh,
these
for
are the,
citations also.
yeah,
I
yeah, for
see.
citation. Mendeley is the software that I used for my paper that I've shown recently. So because now there are various citation styles, sir. Now you can see for particular paper, like if I have a journal, IEEE journal, so they have their own format for citation, for referencing style. So it is a tedious task if you go for like if I have once I submit my paper to IEEE journal, and if it gets rejected, and if I have to submit that same paper to say elsewhere any journal. So but the referencing style of both the journals are different. So it becomes a tedious task for me now to again take all that references and citations, and again rearrange them or make edit them as per the new journal's policy. So
Okay.
in this case, this use of this proper citation software like Mendeley and EndNote, they are very helpful. because in Mendeley you can find citation styles like IEEE style, ASC style, like that. So it becomes very useful for us to cite them, and it becomes easy for us while writing the paper.
Okay, then. Thank
Yeah,
you very much. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions?
Any questions?
Please feel free to ask any type of questions in research methodology, not only in ethics. You can ask any type of paper, any type of questions. Yeah, sir. Yeah, yeah. Very good, sir. Very good question, sir. I wanted to highlight that only, that whatever we this plagiarism that we are checking, there are many tools that are available online, we can say, which are used for plagiarism checking, but those are not authenticated. Actually, we should have licensed version softwares only for plagiarism detection. Otherwise, this will not be again ethical, because if you are first of all, using pirated version is not ethical. Right. So for plagiarism detection, at least it should be a authorized and licensed version. Actually, sir, when I was in Walchand College of Engineering, frankly speaking, we had this licensed copy there. So we use that Turnitin software, and I think now it is everywhere. At least one licensed version is available with every institute, I think, for Turnitin or iAuthenticate. I'm not aware about the. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is there. Okay, Walchand College only they come. Okay, sir. In this case, I think I don't have right information with me for this licensing and all, because in Walchand it used to be the case like we have a centralized licensed copy, and then we have our own ID, like those all the research scholars and all the head of the departments and all, like few of the people who are very important, who are basically into research. So they used to get a research ID for Turnitin, and we used to put our papers, and we used to get our papers checked for plagiarism. So I'm not very sure about the other softwares, but one thing, considering research ethics, one thing is we should always go for authorized and licensed versions of the software for plagiarism checking. That is more good. So we can take, sir, we can take subscription for that. I think even if you take one subscription, there is no limit to the copies that can be sent for plagiarism check. So that can be done. Okay, sir. Yeah. Any more questions? See, I purposely spent less time on my content, and I wanted to spend more time on the interaction, because what I believe is this presentation should not be one way. It should be like two-way communication. Whatever doubts you have or whatever difficulties you face, if you discuss with me, I'll be very glad to solve them. So I request, please, if any more questions. I hope my presentation was clear and uh, you could
Yes,
understand.
yes, ma'am, it is understandable.
Any feedback from participants? Yes, sir. Yeah. Sir, I would just like to get feedback from any participant, because so that this is a like platform for me to uh, like learn and again explore. So if any, okay, yeah. Yes, sir, it will be great, because the thing is, this is a continuous learning, teaching learning process. Like we should continuously learn from our like feedbacks and all the suggestions. So that is what I believe. So thank you so much for inviting me
Uh,
today. Yeah, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Thank you very much, madam, for giving us guideline about ethics in research. And we got clarity about the ethics with the help of the case studies that you have explained with us in your presentation. And my sincere thanks for your presentation. Thank you so much. And after 10 minutes breaks, we will move ahead for validatory function. So I request all participants to be present here with 10 after 10 minutes we will start validity function on same link, so be there. Thank you very much.
Just a minute. I want to thank the PVPIT college, Lad ma'am, and also HOD Mechanical Department for giving me this opportunity to present my views on ethics in research. Thank you so much for your invitation, and I'm glad I will be happy to connect with you again. Thank you so much. And also thank you all participants for your patience listening and all the questions that you have asked me. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. We will stop. Okay, sir. Am I audible, sir? Okay. Good afternoon. Once again, good afternoon, all. In validatory function of 1 week online faculty development program on research methodology organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering, PVPIT Gurgaon. I welcome all experts in validity function who have given us guidelines on different topics in these 5 days. I request all participants uh, in this validity function. Validity function means organizing this validity function. The motive is that we want feedback from your side. During these 5 days, is there any question arises in your mind? Please ask if you want to give the feedback on whole FDP. So please share your views regarding FDP, and if any questions in your mind, please ask. Apte sir, Putli sir, and Venushree ma'am present here in this session. So please, if any questions, please ask.
I'm trying to get my camera on, just so I'll just log in.
Is there any question from audience? Please ask. Or if you want to give the feedback on FDP on this
Question
5 days.
or comment, or as a totality of the 10 sessions,
Yes.
was this FDP useful?
Yes. Yes, sir.
In fact, each of these 50 odd people should actually give a 1 minute feedback.
Yes. Please unmute yourself one by one and give the feedback.
Yeah. If you already, yeah. So- Yes, yes. Oh, somebody has given a chat box reply.
Yes. Yes, sir. All sessions were wonderful. There is comment from Prashant Putni sir, and Makandar ma'am says that during 5 days FDP, there is a lot of new things added, new perspective also, the new concept of reading and reminding the things.
Okay. Nida Afrin says all are very informative.
Informative sessions. Prabha madam says that highly informative sessions, very useful. If any questions, then free to ask. Please ask the questions.
Hello, madam.
Hum.
Yes,
Yes,
Am
Sunita,
I
madam.
audible? Am I
yes,
audible, madam?
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Ah, hello, everyone. Myself, Mrs. Thorat. I am lecturer in physics in Government Polytechnic, Mumbai. First of all, thank you all the team members who organized this wonderful session of PVPIT College. Every session is very useful in my PhD work. Especially, I'm thankful to Dr. Uday sir, Dr. Patil sir, Dr. Venushree madam, Dr. Apte sir. So every session is very useful in my PhD work. Once again, thank you all team and all the expert also. Thank you all of.
Yes, thank you.
Is anyone express the feedback? Please unmute yourself and give the feedback.
In fact, I would like someone who is already PhD and guiding students, whether for them this RM course was useful. Already PhDs. I saw a couple of names which said Doctor something. Their name itself had doctor in it. So there is a Dr. Pavitra GS, then Dr. MS Dutargao, like that. So they are already doctors. So was there anything new or useful for them? When others have written professor before their name, but we don't know whether they are PhDs or not. So Dr. Pavitra, are you there?
Hello, Pavitra ma'am. Are you there?
So I have to fall back on Ashwini madam.
Yes, sir.
So you may proceed with your valedictory function, other items. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, motive for this validity function is question answering session and feedback session. After that, I'm concluding the session by
Okay.
the thanks. But before concluding, I want feedback from the participants, which will help us for the future FDP if we get the chance to organize again.
Let me give a couple of my uh, generic comments.
Yes, sir.
Of course, I gave two sessions, and right in the beginning, the first session, and then the third session. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the remaining ones because I had some other commitment. What happens in the FDP with many speakers? Usually, it is a burden on the next speaker to connect his topic to the previous few lectures at least. And then sometimes it becomes difficult. So it becomes a mix of things. So let me just comment on my own perception of RM, the 4 stages. So the first stage is you, student and the guide will select a broad topic and then zoom in onto a focused topic. And literature survey begins in that focused topic. And then we have to find some gaps, and you have to find otherwise whatever is given in the discussion and conclusions of those papers, or it is given in the background of invention, those drawbacks, harms, etc. To select 4 or 5 targets, 4 or 5 things that you should do. The third one is what we call the planning of the research and conducting research. These sessions I was not able to attend, but I want to comment, not knowing what all others have said. I have to assume that they have given something. I say that a planned activity using a design of experiments and covering a large number of parameters, what we call the variables, is the best way of doing it quickly. The whole idea is our PhD, right from registering to publishing 2 papers and then submitting thesis, is a mission activity. It is a time-oriented activity. And therefore, planning of the activity should be based on design of experiments. And then the analysis becomes simple. The conclusions become easy. And then we can make our comparison of our results to the results that we have already found in the literature survey. So maybe some other day, Miss Ashwini, some other day you run a FDP on how to plan and conduct research. Then I will be very happy again to give a couple of sessions.
Okay, sir. Definitely.
Because, however much you say, every engineering field has a different way of doing actual experimental work. So then we can get some two speakers from each branch of engineering, and that way make, let's say, 10 sessions, 5 branches of engineering. So I feel that planning research based on design of experiment is a wonderful idea, and you will benefit in getting world-class results very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving again guideline for arranging the future FDPs. I request Putli sir if you want to say something.
Well, I am going to speak something very basic, more about how I felt about the whole course, about the whole proceedings. I did not attend all the sessions. I attended Dr. Apte's session to begin with, and it did give me a certain amount of insight how to weave in some of the things that he had said into what I was saying. What I was talking about was not research. And as I mentioned during the earlier feedback, that is at the end of my session, I did mention that initially this paper was not for research, it was about reading, and for a very practical reason. And when I was asked by you, that is Ashwini, whether I will do something that I have taught in the class, I said that will not be a very good thing to do for me now, because I was doing something from the examination point of view, and I have come here to, I will have to write something, I will have to work on something to make it complete. So an idea struck me. I said, I had talked about techniques of reading on the request of the Town Planning Department of Government of Maharashtra to deliver a talk to their engineers at Yashada. And I had prepared accordingly, because they have to read a lot of government documents, they have to read a lot of things, and they fall short of this. So I asked Ashwini, I asked you, can I put this in? And you said, why not? I said, no, no, that is not quite right. So I started trying to find out how can I tweak it very slightly to put in what you do about citations, what you do when you are actually referring to something. And I got some good inputs from Dr. Apte, which was very nice. Although I used very little of it, just 2 or 3 sentences here and there. And some of them were not even about papers. Some of them were, for example, something which I already knew, the story that he told about the priest in the church, and he had only 3 things to say. And this is something that I also talk about. I i said this is a good thing to explain here, and then I started explaining how to read. So it was overall for me a learning experience as well as a participating experience, and I was very happy. More than anything, I can say that I was happy that even though it was a very short term kind of thing that I wrote this and I came up with this, I was a little nervous. When I came, I was very happy that I was able to deliver it, and most of the participants, or many of the participants, expressed that they had enjoyed listening to me. Thank you very much. And I'll be glad to keep in touch with you people in future also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I would like to. You are
Your voice is not carrying.
Am I audible?
Yes, now you
Yeah, no, no.
Okay. Okay. I would like to request Venushree ma'am, please give your feedback also.
The speaker.
Expert
Yes.
feedback also important for us, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. Actually, I couldn't attend any of the sessions as this was my last session and I concluded the FDP, I think, with my session. I hope my session was informative and provided all the information that was supposed to be delivered. But yeah, I can comment on the organization of the of the FDP and all. Like Lad Madam communicated very well with me. All the information was provided on time, and the sessions that were planned were the topics were really informative. I could see that, and it was a great experience for me also to participate in the FDP in my own way. Thank you so much. Even
Madam, I would like to, sorry, please, I would like to comment something. I asked you the first question, which was not complete, which was not clear. The reason was that at COEP, I teach a subject called Research and Publication Ethics.
yeah.
Now, the way I teach it is very theoretical. I want to give case studies. For example, there is this thing about ethical dilemma, and that is why I asked this question. Only thing is, it remained incomplete because I could not talk to you really. Ethical dilemma. Now, I was really drawing from my personal experiences in work life about ethical dilemmas I have faced due to pressures of work, due to political interference, and various things like that. And that was not research oriented because I'm not a researcher. Now, when all this kind of thing was happening, I have been talking about these things in class because that is enough to explain the theory and to explain, for example, I used to take the recourse to Heinz's dilemma and then go about, which was very theoretical. But what I was asking you was, and maybe I would like to connect with you, I would like to know more about dilemmas one faces when doing research, actual dilemmas in personal life, in the work. You know, what kind of pressures and how one gets over them. That's about it. It's just a request. Maybe I would like to connect with you. I am also from Pune.
Yes, sir. Okay. Surely we can connect. So you can
Okay.
take my mail ID from Lad ma'am if it is
Yes, I
possible.
will do that. I will do that.
So we can connect. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it was great experience. I would like to comment here that this was my first experience here, like presenting in FDP. I hope I made justice to it. You were able to understand the topics that I could present. The research ethics. Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, I'll be glad to be associated with you. Surely, sir. I just wanted to say that ethics is not only about in research, but one should be ethical in life so that it becomes easy in research. That is what I want to conclude with. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you very much, all experts who have presented uh, their sessions in this 5 days FTP. Gurgaon. So I noted. Hello, am I audible? Okay. I would like to express the vote of thanks. So, my sincere vote of thanks to all experts on behalf of PVPIT Gudgaon. And I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our experts, all experts, means Dr. Apte sir, Putli sir, Venushree ma'am, and remaining experts. Because of the time is not because of the time is not available, the sorry, so they are not present here in this session, but I would express my gratitude to that expert also, Dr. Sharad Patil sir, Dr. Santosh Patil sir, Sudar sir, Dr. Sudar sir, and they have given lot of information in this 5 days FTP program, and lot of things which are important in our future work, future research work, and for our PhD completion also. That will definitely help us. And I express the vote of thanks to all participants also, and organizing committee who have given me chance to work in this FDP. And I express my gratitude to our honorable chairman, MP Shri Vishal Dada Patil, trustee Shri Amit Dada Patil, and principal Dr. B.S. Patil sir for their continuous guidance. And I express the uh, vote of thanks to our HOD also, Dr. Pankaj Avte sir, and all teaching and non-teaching staff who have directly and indirectly helped us for this arranging the faculty development program. I express the thanks all again, and I concluded the session now. And I request all participants, so please feedback, please give the feedback, last feedback. And uh, Bani sir already shared with you the feedback link and certificate link also. So please give the feedback, and it will help us in our future organizing. So now I want to conclude this session. So thank you so much. If there are any questions in future, so you may free to ask us. Our We will share the contact details also in that group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a comment on lighter note.
Okay, sir.
Unless they give feedback, you should not give them the FDP certificates. Okay.
Sir, okay.
Yeah. You cannot write that unless you give feedback, certificates will not be given. This has to be only verbally said by somebody is not organizing. Organizers cannot say so. So I am saying it.
Okay, sir, thank you. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Okay. Okay.
Very nicely done. We hope Miss Lard Vani sir and Avte sir will give us further opportunity to participate in some other FDP. Okay.
It was in all, overall, it was an excellent session. All sessions were excellent. At least I can say for what I attended. And I felt happy and proud to be associated with this initiative. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody. Bye.